So discussion over here, he said that we have to bring together the kelim. It's all based over here on the Zohar that says that there is a ampin ba'ampin in the mashgichin lo have mashgichin apin ba'apin. He talks about the idea in Toyu. He's explaining Midian, explaining the way it was in Toyu. So over there they weren't face to face, but when it came down to Tikkun in Atzilus, over there it became lines, not one on top of the other. There's iskalus chesed, the gvura chesed. But it says there's two things. There's a iskalus in the kelim, and then there's a hiskalus of the oiris. So now he's going to, in the parentheses, he's going to go through to explain the two different levels. The level that we're saying is hiskalus of the kelim, and the hiskalus of the oiris, that the oiris bring it. First of all, the kelim themselves, chesed needs to be included from gevura, gevura needs to be included from chesed. And the second thing is that because you bring down a much greater oir, that is from the left perspective of oir, then there could be iskalus again. Let's see what he's going to go through, the various different areas. The hainu, shezeh gufa, sheyu hakelim, iskalus, amitis, this itself, that we want the kelim should really be included one from the other. The light of bittul, of that subjugation from the name Ma, from the Shem Hashem, when that shines in them, that causes the true bittul. Al derech, similarly, we say, Ois Sholem Bimreimov, Chulu. It's going to bring down. Ois Sholem Bimreimov. So you have Michoel Sar Shel Eish and Gabriel Sar Shel Mayim. So Eish and Mayim, fire and water, are opposites. How do you have them not destroy each other? So Ois Sholem, because when there is a Gilui, Milamayla higher than Michoel and Gabriel, higher than their level, so they both become bottle. So they're no longer opposing each other. So what does it say there? So the Ovis and Markova, that's the three kavim, Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. In order to bring about a inclusion of the Gimel Kavim, the Schabrusom, you have to have a shine and extend from a higher level. Relative to the higher level, these two opposites, they're both like when you stand in the presence of the king. So each one has their opinion, very strong, but in the presence of the king, then you're both bottle, because in the king's presence, nobody is really is an opinion. No's non-opinion. So therefore, over there they're both bottle, and therefore that causes about the skalus. That's the level of Ma, the oir, that higher light that we're saying, the ois sholem. That's the level of Ma, Ein Shol. So over there, in that beer of the posing, it says, there's two levels of iskalus. Those are the two levels. Iskalus because of the oiris and iskalus because of the kelim. Number one you have is mitzad. So like we learned before, that when you bring down the moichin midas, person may be very strong, be very angry, or be very giving, but then the intellect, when he has his intellect control, his emotions, so then there would be a inclusion, and he can see the other way as well. So instead of getting angry, he can be tolerant. So that's the level that comes because of the moichin goes into midas. But then you have a bezal de gilu hoyer. Then you have, because there is such a revelation of light, you have from the level of, which is whole of all of them. So that's from above, that's the Oisha Sholem that brings about the truest colors. So, this is what we're saying over here. Because it says the main tikkun is through the oiris, not so much through the hamshocha, which the moichin is nimshach in the midas, but the oiris, the gilu ha'oir. So the tzayna lemer, what it means to say is, sha'yidei zeh, through the gilu ha'oir, nasa ha'tikkun v'iskalus v'yaser through the revelation. So that means the main. What does it mean, the main? The main means that gives it the more force through the revelation from a higher level. We can also say these two levels, the level of iskalus of the kelim, that mitzad hamshochas midas, and the level of iskalus mitzad the gilui, of the higher level of shlemus de koila, the level of ma. So atzmei pirush mashgichin apim ba'apim. This itself is the meaning of that they look face to face. The koila gamkin beis inyonim. When we say mashgichin apim ba'apim, they look face to face. That could be two inyonim. Face to face could be in the olam hatikun, in the world that the spheres chesed and gevura are mashgichin apim ba'apim, but it can also mean atik and keser and zo, as we'll see, also mashgichin apim ba'apim, which is the higher, the two levels of iskalus hakelim, and the iskalus that comes lemusa the kolim higher. Aleph, number one, Shemidas Atzmom Nasu Ponim Uponim, that the midas itself become Ponim Uponim, Mashgich HaBabim, which is Chesedim Gevura. Chesed with Gevura. V'zehu inyan HaTikun, Shebimchinas HaKelim. That's the Tikun from the Kelim, not the Kelim. Sha'chesed Nase Kolu Megevura, Gevura Mechesed. V'ayidei Zeh Mischabrim HaChesed Gevura Yachad, Ponim Uponim. That way, Chesed and Gevura come together. What is the second meaning? We find, as the Arizal explains over there, that's the language. This is from the Arizal. He writes, Iker hashgochas apin ba'apin. The main apin ba'apin is hainu atika b'zo. That's atik with zo. Not chesed gevura within there, but atik with zo. Kedabeinu l'meimer lekamon bez Hashem atkan l'shem. There's the lotion of the Arizal. V'zeu, this level that the Arizal is talking about, in atikum b'oiris. That is the tikkun in the light. Shahas gochas. Atika b'zo. When we say the atik is mashgich b'zo, hainam shochas erisol yonim. That's the bringing down the erisol yonim. Ki ha-keser hu ha-mamutza ha-mechaber hu mamshich, because the level of keser, which is the level of atik, is the level of keser, is the mamutza ha-mechaber hu mamshich. That's the intermediary that connects and draws down ha'oras ha-maitzel and sobaruch hu b'netzolim. The shine of the maitzel and sobaruch hu into those that were netzel, that were created. The netzolim. So that's the hashgochas. That's the two pirushim in hashgochas apin ba'apin. Whether it refers to in Zoe itself, the Chesed the Gevura, or Atik the Memutza Mamshich into the level of Zoe. Hine Kamikein Benefesh Yesh. Basically, going to say in the soul we have also these two levels. Tikkun v'hiskalus hakelim. You have the correction and the kelim should be included. And then through this you get the ribu oil, you get lots of oil. So Biur Inyan over there explains say two things about Rachel. She was beautiful in Toyar. She looked also beautiful. Look, what is these two things? Rachel is the Knesset Yisrael. So Knesset Yisrael has two things. It has Yifas Toyar, and it also has Yifas Mare. The Inyan Yifas Toyar, what is the idea of Yifas Toyar? Hainal derech Moshu, Tikun Tziyur Eivore HaNefesh. That is the fixing the shape of the limbs of the soul. Nasa Odom B'Tzalmeinu. The pasuk says, "Let us make Odom B'Tzalmeinu sheyitaru bahem kol hamidos b'shleimusam ubiyofyam k'moi sheheim l'mayla b'elam atikun." So that in the neshama, that's the fixing of the neshama, that they are in the image of above, so that they get the levels, the maila, the way it is above, so that the neshama over here should be in the image. What does it mean by the person? That is to the inclusion of the emotion of Av and Yira, Umachshov Divrei Ma'aseh. Ukubeshikosu l'kamon aposik eila ma'aseh me'in iskalus hamidas b'avedis Hashem. And there he explains what it means. The midas should be included in Avedis Hashem. So what's the idea of Yifei Toyar? Yifei Toyar talks about the person's midah in Avedis Hashem, that it should be a Yifas Toyar, that the person should have his kalus hakelim, the way it's in the word of Tikkun, Nasod Mitzalmenu, that should be here. Because Tikkun hakelim, this is the level of the Tikkun hakelim. V'nikro Yifas Toyar, that's called Yifas Toyar. Then you come to the level of Yifas Mare, Shu B'chinas Ru'usa de Liba. Then you have a Rotzen Alev, Shu B'chinas Ha'ora Pnimis Eirin Sof. That is a shine from the Pnimis Eirin Sof. Hu B'chinas Oir Hasheli B'chinas Oir Hasheli V'kelim Anal, and that's the light that comes, that rests in the kelim, which means the higher that comes to the kelim. So you have the first level Yifas Toyar, which is the Iskalus HaKelim, and then you have Yifas Mare, which is the light of above, and that's called the Rotzen Halev, and that comes from Pnimis Eirin Sof. The Kol Zeh, Hu Ha'idei Hadas, and all this comes through the level of Das. Basically, it's the level of Chokhmah, Bina, and Das, basically, because the Kelim, the Skalus HaKelim, is going to say later on, they have the Nekudas HaChokhmah, and the Bina, and then the Das. This all takes place through the level of Das, which means, what does it mean through the level of Das? How do we have the Skalus HaKelim? In both levels, Skalus HaKelim and the Tikkun through the Oiris, the Tikkun HaKelim and through the Tikkun Oiris, comes to levels about Das. Like he's going to explain later on, the idea of Yaseh Sholem Lichulu. V'chein b'nefesh. So the same thing is in the nefesh. We're talking about in Avodas Hashem. Shekedei liyis hamshachar uso de libo. In order to have this hamshachar of rotzin halev, which is the second level, after the Iskalus, Walidei Das Elyon, that comes through the level of the Supreme Das. That's the level of Das that brings it down. Le'il aposik v'daber Moshe Rosh Matos Chulu. V'ayim Hashekosuv aposik v'yakel Moshe. V'gam, another reason is Kidas hu hamshocha pnimis shu b'chinas ha'oir. Das is the inner hamshocha level of light. And that's why through the level of Das it comes down in a pnimis. V'ayim Hashekosuv aposik v'yakel Moshe. Begam, and also Kidas, Wamshocha, Lachein Isa Moshe Loi Psik Timer. It says, Shem says Moshe, but there's no stop. There's no tam. It says Moshe. It goes together, which means the same Moshe, which is on the higher level, is the same Moshe on the lower level. Moshe. The same. So while Moshe is in Atzilus, that same Moshe comes down to Bia, like Psik Timer. There's no interruption. Because this level of oil, we're talking about Das, that would be a garden in Bia like an Atzilus. Biur Devela Mishpoti. V'chein nisu Pris Chaim Shalu Perigimel Shadas. That the Das is merely a place where it collects all these lights, but it doesn't really change them. So that's why that level of Das is considered to be Mamshich, from we said before, from Atika, from Keser to bring down. But the same thing in Avodas Hashem. How does the person get the level of the higher level? That gets it through the level of Atik, through the level of Das, which is the level of Moshe, Leipzig time. So this is the parentheses that he was explaining the two inyonim of his kalus through the kelim and also through the oilers. So he says that so we're talking about his kalus. So we're saying as that he says Yemincha Hashem Nadori Bakoyach. So Hashem's right hand got the level, was adorned with the level of Koyach. Koyach is the small doicha, I guess. That means smaller is kalal b'yimina. It means the left is included in the right. And then we say Yemincha Hashem Tiratz Oyev. God's right hand will crush the enemy. That's the other way. That's what? That's the smoil. That's Yemin included in the smoil. Because you have Yemin Hashem crush the enemy. I think that's the pshat. I got to look over there. I think that's what it means. That it's the left to the right and the right to the left. That's what, because even though koyach is in one's right hand, but to smash the enemy, that comes from the left hand. It doesn't come from the right hand. I think that's why you need the yamin included in the smoil in order to crush the enemy. I think that's what it means with hula hepech. Midyon. So now we'll explain the level of Midyon. So Midyon who mishoydesh hatoyu koydem hatiko. So Midyon comes from the root of Toyu, which is before Tikkun. The loy have mashgichin apin be'apin. There was no looking face to face. In other words, there was higher and lower. There was descent. There wasn't that unity. There wasn't hiskalus. Midyon makes machloikis. And that's why also Boy Yisrael Kohen Midyon, Yisrael, who's of the Kohen of Midyon, he came Kohen Matan Torah. Commission Kosuv, the Zoyar, Reish Pashis Yisrael, the Zoyar and Reish Pashis Yisrael. And Daf Samach Zayin Amud Beis says, the law is Yahiv Raisa ad Lebosar the Osi Yisrael Voided. The Torah wasn't given until after Yisro came, and he admitted and he said that Hashem, he had to, so we needed Midian to come before the Torah was given. Because Torah is level of tikkun. And we need Midian to be crushed, or we need Midian to be subdued. We needed to agree. And Torah is tikkun, Hashem yivarech esame b'sholem. So Torah is sholem. That's the level of tikkun. But tzarich li is bittul b'chinas Midian. We have to nullify Midian, and that's why Midian had to come first to subjugate him, and then we can give the Torah. That's the level of sholem, which is the opposite of Midian. Base, base. Hine shoyrish hatikun uliyos gilu shem havaya. So how is the root of this tikkun? What happens? The tikkun is that there should be revealed the shem havaya. We have the yud and the k and the hey. Yud hu chochma. That's Gilu Shem Havaya. What means the Gilu Shem Havaya means revealing Yud Kei Vav Kei. What is Yud? Yud hu chochma. Yud is the level of chochma, which is B'chinas Barak. That's the level of a lightning. What does it mean, the level of a lightning? There is darkness, and then you have a lightning. That's darkness means the level of godliness. Above is dark, and we need to bring it in. You need a lightning to bring some light into the dark. He makes his place dark. That's the level of Keser. Keser is dark because people don't have, creations don't have any comprehension. It's dark. From there, you need a spark, you need a barak to come a lightning from that level of darkness. So, inyan ayelto de dalgo l'torich hasheches. It's the ayelis, that jumps. Ke'ayol tarig. That it jumps to the Turech Cheshech. Ayelta is going to translate over here is Malchus. The Turech Cheshech, that's the level of Keser. Yoshes Cheshech Sisra. That's why it's called the mountains, the dark mountains. And the Ayeles, trying to do the English word for Ayeles. It's the animal that jumps, like a deer. That jumps the Turech Hasheches. Ayin bezoyer Parshas Pinchas. Dafresh Mamtes Shubchinas Malchus. Over there it says that level Malchus. Shenichlo b'Keser. Ayel to the Dalga means it's excluded in Keser. So that level of hidden, the level of Choshech comes through Yud Kei Vav Kei is Nizgala. He reveals the depth from the darkness. It's Turech HaSheich, and your Megala the Amukah is the depth. She'eser Sfiris Shehem Begilui Hem L'mayla B'Helem Gamki. The same as the Sfiris that we have here on a revealed way, above they're hidden. Which means you have 10 Sfiris in Keser, but they're hidden over there. The Gam called is Kalus Chesed Shebechesed, and also all this inclusion of Chesed Shebechesed, which is the Olam HaTikun, which is in Atzilus. It was all hidden in the beginning. V'shom Nikra Turech HaSheich, over there is called the mountains of darkness. These are mountains because these are 10 different mountains, 10 spheres. But the mountains of darkness, you don't see these colors. in the level of Nikudim. Over there is revelation. But over there, we only get the Nikudah. And the rest stays hidden. So then, and from the level of the darkness of Keser, over there, like a lightning comes out the level of Baruch. When we talk about you have the Tanto, you have the Tevis, Nekudis, and Taimim. So the Nekudis, that's the vowels, and then they come from the level of Chochmah. Because the revelation of Chochmah, of the hidden of Keser, that's like one Nekuda, 1 point. It's like the lightning that lightens from the darkness. And the Zoyar is called Nekuda Behechla. That's a point in the Heichel. The Heichel is the room, that's Bina. That's the Kuda, that's the point. Heichel is Bina. The Emo Mekanano Bikursaya, level of Bina nests on the couch that's in Bria. This is the point which is in the Bina. V'nikra Lakim Chayim Umelech Olam. Bina is called the living God, the King of the world. Yeshlo Yispashtus Oirach V'Rechav. It has expansion Oirach. Achachochmo hu b'chinas l'kuna v'lvad. So that's already the Heichel, that's already the Bina. But Chochma itself is just a point. Hainu, Kemoyle Moshul, take for example, a person is reflecting on his learning and he gets a new idea. That Seichel Einei Ela Nekuda, that's only a point. V'hu Borok HaMavrik B'toich Ruach B'nosei HaMispashet B'Eirech V'Reicha B'Eichla. And that's a lightning that lights in his understanding, which expands the length and the width in the Heichel. The idea is a point. And the level of Bina over there, it already expands into a whole structure. What connects that point to the Heichel? Who hadas? That's lavadas. So now he's going to use the language of Kabbalah, he says, and later on he's going to explain. Ki hadas hu oila at krumo de avira. That goes up to the membrane of the ear. What is the ear? There's a membrane. It's talking about the intellect, the structure of the intellect, as it is in the level of Keser, Avira, Shalifnei, Hakrumo, that is in, and the ear, that is in front of the membrane, the Chafya, Amoiches Timo Chulu, that covers, that hovers around the Moiches Timo, Shehu Ba'atzmus Oire Sof, that is in the Esner Sof K'moi B'moshul, and it's like by the Moshul Liis Nevei HaSeichel, Milmailo Mehaseichel. So to have the flow of Seichel from above Seichel, and that's the way to connect Chochma Bina, the two friends that go together. So there is the Seichel, the way he's going to explain it. there is the seichel the way we have it over here, but the seichel comes from a lightning, comes from above. Something gives it a push. So that comes from the level of das, because das comes to the kurumah avira, which is meiches timo, which brings it down. He's going to explain that. To explain it later. Pirush. Kina al derech moshel. By way example, when a person understands some new idea, so that is an extension that comes from the source of seichel, which is called the maskel. So sometimes he doesn't get that seichel. Sometimes a person gets an enlightenment, an idea. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't mean that it's all the time. There's no new ideas flowing all the time. Sometimes it comes, sometimes not. In Cain, so we have to say, so they have to say that there's something which is higher than the source of the seichel that he understands. That which brings him down, that it should come to seichel. Sometimes so, sometimes so. So you have another entity that brings together the koyach hamaskil with the seichel. That's the level of das. The source of so the maskil is chochmas timo, the hidden chochmas. But china shelamaylam is the higher than that. So b'chinas avira shal kruma the chavya mechastimo. You have a membrane that is hovers over the mechastimo, and you have the avir which is higher. Shua mekasher u'mechaber chochmas timo over the gilchut that connects the chochmas timo to come to a gilu. That's called level avir. Why do we call it avira? Why is that higher level, the level called avira? You can understand by that Mamer. Over there it says different. Okay, but nevertheless, this is where the level of das comes in. Over there is a shine of the das of Atik Yomim. And this is what he says, that's what he says. The root of das is over there because the Atik Yomim shines in that Avira. That's why the das has the ability, that the das of Atzilus, because the level, the root of das is very high. That comes from the Avira. That comes from the level of the Das Atik Yomi that shines there. You know, the Inyan Hadas, Bezer Rekia, Sif Parshas Truma. The Davku Samachvov, Aimashkos, Bezagamki, Bebira Posik, Anea Baila Kichem. The Parshas Tzitzis. Aposik Levaftane, Achel Tzilikala. Zehu, Unyan Isakatoyra Lishmo. So that, how do we bring down? We're saying it all happened to bring down the level of Chochma, the Baruch HaMavrik, the level of Yud, to bring the Gilu of Shem Havaya. That, how does that happen? Learning Torah Lishma. The Shem HaTorah leads HaTorah B'chinas Chochma. So that you're learning Torah, so the Torah should be in the level of Chochma, as the Pasuk says, Havaya B'Chochma. Like the Zohar says, the David Koshir Oraisa del Elam Kuchabricho. David tied the Oraisa Kuchabricho with. So this is going back to what he started off saying, that we have to have the Gilu of the Yud and the Yud the Baruch HaMavrik, and that is to learn Torah Lishma. That's to bring Mechaber. When you learn Torah Lishma, you bring down the level into the Chochma, into Torah. Oraisa del Elam Chochma del Law. He tied the level of Eraisa above with Kuchabrichu. Eraisa del Eila, that's Chochma Eila. V'kosher, what does it mean? Chochma lo means chochma batzilus. And v'kosher b'kutshabrichu, what does it mean? Itari kutshabrichu? Li is b'ashros in sof, that it should be in there, the resting of the in sof. So in Magala, amukos menichoshech kiral. This idea of revealing the amukos menichoshech, the hidden levels, which is in Keser, to come down, the Baruch HaMavrik, to come down in Atzilus. Okay, we'll leave it over here. We'll continue. So it's stuff. Okay.
All my morning left like that. Quote unquote, plain my morning was first.